God bless you, everybody. Sorry we're a little late. This is Brother Ed Steed, your host of Kicking It with Brother Ed. We're going live right now on this station. You're in the right place. This is KWBE. You are here. We got a very special guest for you today. A man who's done some marvelous things in New Jersey in the whole arena of law enforcement. Mr. Donald Ellison. We're going to bring him in right now. Well, Don, how you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. Thank you so
Well,
much.
we appreciate you coming on. We know you've done some amazing things. We want to get right to it. I know that you retired from law enforcement and you had a very high position. Is that right?
That's correct. That's
And
correct.
what was that position?
I retired as Mercer County Undersheriff. I was
Wow.
one of three undersheriffs and probably the fourth black undersheriff in Mercer County.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And that we're talking about the whole history of Mercer County, New Jersey. Is that correct?
That is correct. There was,
Wow.
so I feel pretty honored to have that position bestowed upon me. So it was an honor.
Yes. And I know it wasn't easy. We're going to get into that. But first, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, what it was like growing up in your town, where you grew up at, and so on and so forth.
Well, just to give you a little background on myself,
Yes.
I was born in Princeton, New Jersey. I moved to Trenton, New Jersey, when I was about 5 years old, and went through the Trenton public school system for the most part, all throughout elementary and middle school, and ended up graduating from Trenton Central High School in 1983.
Excellent. And what did you do after that?
I went on to college and I had a pretty successful career in high school basketball, won a couple state titles, and went on to college and had a pretty successful career in college and at Stockton State University. Was the
What
all-time
university was that?
Stockton State University.
Stockton.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. And was when I graduated. We had made it to the Final Four my senior year. I was the all-time leading scorer, all-time leading rebounder, and we went to the Final Four. Went to the Final Four my senior year. Yes, sir.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, and then I got injured trying to stay in shape and tore my knee up, which then I fell back on my degree and ended up going to work.
And you know that's so important for young guys. They have these dreams, which I'm sure you had some of going to the NBA and what have you. But stuff happens, right?
Hey, it only takes one play.
Right.
It only takes one play, and
That's
true. And I was blessed enough and fortunate enough to fall back on my education and continue on and get a good job.
Excellent. Now, where did you start out? I know you took kind of the circuitous route to get to your job. Tell us about that. How you got started?
Actually, my first job was, believe it or not, my high school basketball coach was an attorney, unbeknownst to me. And during trying to find myself, I used to do security at Sears at Quaker Bridge Mall here in Mercer County. And he came through on a lunch hour, and long story short, I ended up finding out that he was an attorney working for the Division of Gaming Enforcement, the casino industry. There are two industries that regulate the casinos. It's the Casino Control Commission and the Division of Gaming Enforcement. And
Don, let me cut you off real quick.
Sure, absolutely.
Those two entities, are they still in existence today, and do they still have employment opportunities like you took advantage?
Absolutely, they are. And anything or anybody that has anything to do with the casino, whether it be any kind of vendor or employee, has to go through the regulation of dealing with the Casino Control Commission or the Division of Gaming Enforcement. And I ended up working for the Division of Gaming.
Wonderful. Go ahead. Keep going, please.
Yeah. So then I ended up, I spent approximately 9.5 years there. And how I ended up in law enforcement, our director, we had our own branch of state police that
Right.
did the enforcement in the casinos. Long story short, our director was trying to get his staff through the police academy, and I was fortunate enough to be in the second group from the agency that went to the police academy. And there, afterwards, I graduated from the police academy, and subsequently ended up being hired by the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office
As
as a detective. I'm sorry, forgive me.
wonderful.
And upon my employment at the prosecutor's office, I worked in a number of different units while employed there, i.e., domestic violence, what's commonly referred to now as SVU, but it was the Child Abuse Sexual Assault Unit back then. There was homicide. I'm certified as an arson detective. Um, so forth, so on. So I did a whole gamut of things while I was employed there.
So you had a pretty well-rounded background that you were putting together there.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, that was one of the things that I was attempting to uh, get into the whole supervisory pool, and one of the things they tried to uh, ask us to do was to be well-rounded. Well-rounded detective, so that we had, if there was someone that came to us for advice or we had to direct staff, we would have a basic knowledge of what to do and how to do it.
Excellent. And I want you to know, my good friend who's a member of the organization that we're trying to get you in, Stacy Lloyd, but we all call her Stacy Goldmine. If you see, look at she said good afternoon to
Oh,
you
okay.
and I.
Good
She's a
afternoon. How
lieutenant
are you?
with the New
Pleased to meet
Jersey State Police
you.
and a
Uh-huh.
member of that organization, Noble, the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, and she has distinguished herself greatly. So, good afternoon to you, Stacy. And we also have D Mac, who posted something 100. All right, D Mac. God bless you. But go ahead. We want to talk to you about Don, about what made you decide. It seems to me like you didn't really decide to go in law enforcement, but this attorney that you met at the mall while working at the Mercer County Mall kind of led you to the gaming commission. Is that right? Do I have that
Well,
accurate?
that's correct. And basically, like I said, I had, when I was employed by the Division of Gaming Enforcement, you know, the unit that I was assigned to, we did all background investigations on employees and staff. So that kind of got the juices flowing to
Hmm.
be interested in doing investigations. And again, upon uh, going to the police academy, I left there and ended up at the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office as a detective. And I'm the
Now,
kind of guy that, I like to, once I get a certain place, I don't like to stay there too long. I like to move
right.
around a little bit and become diversified.
Variety is the spice of life, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. So
Absolutely.
now you left the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office on that note and became a member of the Mercer County Sheriff's Office. Is that right?
Yes. After trying numerous times to get into this, become a supervisor with the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office. And those attempts passed me by, I'll say that. I was fortunate enough to become Mercer County Undersheriff. Now, that being said, um, I knew of undersheriffs. I knew of the sheriff's office.
Mhm.
However, when this was bestowed upon me, after my numerous attempts of trying to become supervisor in the prosecutor's office, um, I didn't quite. Long story. Let me back up. I was passed over not once, not twice, but three times
Wow.
as supervisor in the prosecutor's office.
Wow.
And yes, I was highly upset
Right.
because there were other individuals that did less than I did, worked in less units than I did, and they got promoted over me. So needless to say, I had to humble myself, um, and not um, lose focus, so to speak. And
Wow.
I reference a passage of scripture
Uh,
that I look at. It comes from First Peter chapter 5, and First Peter chapter 5 verse 6, and it says, "Humble yourself, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that He may exalt you in due time." And
Wow.
that was one of the things that I found myself doing, was trying to humble myself and not lose focus of where I was trying to go.
Wow. Man, that's great advice for some younger people and even older people who might be doing various things in their own careers, whether law enforcement or otherwise, but might need some encouragement. You gotta, man, that's heavy duty. That's good stuff, folks. Humble
Yes,
yourself and stay
humble
focused.
yourself, because you never know. I always say, my mom always told me, um, be careful of how you treat folks, because you never know when you're going to see them again and how
Amen to
you're
that.
going to see them. So
Wow.
I ended up, I ended up trying to humble myself, and I was blessed. God saw fit for me to get this
Yes.
undersheriff position, because I didn't ask for it. I didn't interview for it. I didn't apply for it. They came in search of me.
So now let me get it. Let me make sure I got this right, Don. So you were going for promotion in Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, but they passed you over 3 times.
That's correct.
And in the process of that, you managed, under enormous frustration, had to be, to stay
Correct.
focused. And
Correct.
God had something come out of the blue for you, which is like a top position in the whole state, really, for that matter.
That is correct. And as they say,
Yeah.
when man closes one door, God opens up another
Come
door
on now.
and pours out a blessing that you can't fulfill. So, and I've
Wow.
been truly blessed, and honored to have that position. And there were, believe it or not, there were not many Black undersheriffs in the entire state. I believe there
No,
are
I believe it.
21 counties in the state of New Jersey, and there was only maybe 3 or 4 uh, Blacks that
Wow.
were had made it to undersheriff.
That is awesome. Now, among the pitfalls you've experienced or observed, and you already gave us a great nugget in that First Peter 5:6, I think you said.
Yes, sir.
Give us something for the viewing audience, because that's what this program is all about. We want to, interview people who've done extraordinary things, which you obviously have. Regarding some things to embrace, do you have any observations to offer the viewing audience? Some things to embrace, some things to avoid as they seek to make their own mark in this world.
Well, things that I've observed that throughout my professional career, um, that have I've taken particular notice of, is the generational nepotism that I've
Mm,
faced, um, in dealing with, I'll call it, law and public safety.
mhm.
When I look at um, law enforcement, and when I look at um, the fire departments, there's what I refer to as, again, generational nepotism. You have grandfathers, fathers, uncles, cousins, brothers that are in this field of law and public safety.
Right.
And myself, as far as I am concerned, that I know of, I am the first person in my family to ever uh, be involved in law enforcement. So I knew nothing about how to
Right.
get involved with it. Um, Therefore, when I got in, I saw that there were numerous members that were employed in the agency that had folks that told them how to get involved. Once they
Right. You
were
look out.
involved, showed them how to move up the ladder and how to move around the different units within the agency.
Right.
And I didn't have that. And I always found that I always had to work twice as hard, 3 times as hard to get to that same level.
Can I ask
They
you a
all
question about that?
sure, absolutely.
Don, I hear a lot of people, people of color, black folk, other brown folk, complain about that. It exists. Is there anything you can say redeeming about that, having to work triply hard than others to get the same results?
Well, at the stage I was at, it was the best thing I can say. It was just hard work and perseverance. For
Perseverance.
every time they tried to knock me down or to hold me back, those were the opportunities that made me want to work harder. Things that made me say,
Excellent.
"You're not going to hold me down. You're not going to hold me back. I'm going to persevere. I'm going to overcome, and I will achieve."
Man, I love that. And listen, people out there, like I said earlier, young people, older people, whatever, and whatever position you're in, whatever career field you're in, don't give up. This brother is
Never.
giving us really good nuggets, food for thought. He made it to the top by pushing forward, not because everything was good, because a lot of things were not so good. But in spite
No.
of those, he used that to motivate him. Did I put that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Excellent.
so,
Now, what about you said one of the observations you made was regarding the whole arena, which we're well familiar with in law enforcement and other places of nepotism. What did you
yes.
do about that? I know you persevered. What would you tell a young person who's aspiring to go into law enforcement or any field for that matter, facing nepotism? What would you say to them?
Well, guess what? Just because there is nepotism and just because you have to continue learning, you have to continue pushing forward because, again, you're not going to hold me back. I understand that this nepotism and it exists. Racism exists. Has existed well and long before me, and it will
Right,
continue to do so after me.
right,
However, at the same token, I am going to uh, make sure that I continue to educate myself, continue to push forward, and continue to tell um, anyone, younger folks, how I was able to do this. Listen, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. My mother and father were my mother was a secretary, my father was a chef, and you know what? They made sure that we worked hard and learned how to uh, overcome. And
right.
you are not going to hold me back from doing so.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, I love this where you're going with all of this. This is definitely food for thought. So I mean, look, it's like I tell people oftentimes. I think I even mentioned it last Sunday when I was at Grace Baptist Church.
Uh-huh.
Some of the excuses that we have for not doing things are good excuses.
Sure.
But we don't want excuses. We want
No.
progress, like you have
Progress.
experienced.
Absolutely.
Excellent, 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 excellent. So, uh, the things that you've experienced in your career as a law enforcement officer, you're retiring again as the undersheriff of a large county in New Jersey, a large county in this country for
Yes.
that matter. What were some of the specific barriers and challenges you faced? Because you went from the prosecutor's office, correct me if I'm wrong, from the
Uh-huh.
prosecutor's office right into the undersheriff position.
That's correct.
Were there any problems because of that? That's a boom.
Well, initially, we were always instructed in the prosecutor's office that we were not allowed or necessarily permitted to, we could vote, we could do everything else. However, we were not permitted to have anything to do with the political arena, so to
Mhm.
speak, with all the uh, in the political arena. So when I actually became undersheriff, when it was presented to me, there were those that said, there were not. Let me see how I can say this. They were. They questioned it because there were, again, we had received instructions or whatever from the prosecutor's office that we
Right.
as detectives were not permitted to be involved in the political arena. So that I'm aware of, I was probably one of the first ones that were um, able to jump from the prosecutor's office over into becoming undersheriff, and there were those that kind of sort of frowned upon that. But then since that time, there have been others that have followed in my footsteps.
Is that right? Like, give me an example.
Um, Specifically, without putting any
Right.
names out there,
Right. Right.
there was a young lady that um, I was detective, spent those years in the prosecutor's office, became undersheriff. There was a young lady that followed behind me that upon my retirement, she became undersheriff. And then again, due to nepotism and name recognition, that person left, became one of the deputy chiefs in the prosecutor's office, and is now the chief in the prosecutor's office.
Wow.
Um, I unfortunately would have never been afforded those opportunities,
Right. But do you
So
think because of your experience, the things you went through, it kind of paved the way for people like the young lady of which you spoke?
um, I think it opened the door for her um, to get that. But then again, due to the fact of name recognition
Right.
and the whole nepotism thing, they were afforded those opportunities to even move on further than what I had the opportunity to do.
Right.
I was not afforded those opportunities. There were individuals that were employed with me in the sheriff's office that had retired and were also brought back. So they were collecting their pension and the salary that I was making.
No
I
kidding.
had I had just salary. They When I attempted to do what I saw my coworkers do,
Right.
um, I was kind of shown the door, so to speak.
Right. Look, that's one reason why I spoke to you already about getting in Noble. These issues need to come out and we need to deal with them appropriately.
Absolutely. And
Right?
I live this. I live this. So
Yes.
nobody
Yes.
can tell me,
Right.
oh, what this is hearsay, this is that, or no, I actually live this. When I attempted
That's
to
right.
do the same thing as my coworkers, um, I was not afforded those opportunities.
Wow. Well, we're
So
going to make sure that that's not in vain, that your experiences will be shared on behalf of some young people who are up and coming. We're going to do better. I only got a couple of minutes left, but
sure.
I want the audience to know some things about you that I already know. You're doing
Okay.
some things in the community, you've done some things in the community. Could you share a little bit about that
Yeah.
regarding yourself?
Well, one of the things that I do is, or I have done and been involved with, is I have been a high school basketball official for well over 30 years. I am
Wow.
a high school football official. Matter of fact, I just completed a state semifinal football game last night. Um, along with one of my good dearest friends and his family, we run the Moody Park, Moody, Frank Moody Park Summer Basketball League every summer. His name's Mark Smith, and his family, he and his wife Denise. We have approximately 850 kids that we do summer league basketball with. Um, for during the summer, we start from, I believe it's the third grade, and we go all the way through high school, and we do boys and girls. And I've been involved with that program for probably the last 15-20 years.
Wow. And what's your partner's name in that?
His name is Mark Smith. Mark and Denise Smith. Um, They actually live in one of the neighboring towns, Ewing Township, and we've done this probably. I know I've been involved with him in one fashion or another, and he's the actual commissioner, and I'm the assistant commissioner for this
Wow.
summer league. And we run for 8 weeks and 4 nights a week. And like I said, besides all of my other side things I do, this is one of the major things that I am involved in, because we have, like I said, approximately 850 kids that we give them something to do and somewhere to go, and it's a safe place. And
And it's
we don't
grades 3,
we
third grade.
started third grade, and we go all the way through till high school. And we've had a number of our student athletes that have actually made it to the NBA. I think we've got
Really?
at least 3 or 4 that are presently in the NBA, and at least probably another 4 or 5 that are playing overseas that have come
Man,
through our
that's
league.
awesome.
Yes.
That is awesome. Well, Don, we are out of time. I thank you for coming on. We got to have you on again.
Well,
This is
I'd be
great.
honored to do so, and thank you for having me. And before I go, I'd just like to ask one question of
Yes.
some of our viewers and some of our younger folks, as I always like to ask when I'm speaking. Ask your parents, what age will they be when they're eligible to retire? That's
Wow.
just that one question, because involved in law enforcement, I was eligible to retire, and I did retire when I was 51 years old. My mother and those worked until they were 64, 65. So
Excellent.
law enforcement is a very good field. Law and public safety is a very good field to get involved in.
Thank you
That's
for
it.
that, sir. And it's wide open for young blacks nowadays because of everything that's happening with the videotapes and everything.
Absolutely.
Blacks are better able to serve their own community. We're going to talk some more about that. We're going to have you back, Don Ellison.
I look
God
forward
bless
to
you.
it, and thank you so much, Ed, for having me. And I want to come back and kick it with Brother Ed Steed.
All right. We want you to come back and kick it with Brother Ed.
All
God
right.
bless you, Don.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Family, before we go, we just want to tell you that while we're grateful to have our brother Don Ellison on, and we can't wait till he comes back, we got to keep moving on. Next time, we're going to do something special on gratitude, the Sunday after Thanksgiving. Please tune in, like us, subscribe to this channel, support us, not financially. We're not looking for your dollars. We just want you to support us with your attendance on these programs. And also, next Sunday, we'll be back at Grace Baptist Church, 811 King George's Road in Forge, New Jersey, to do our thing there. Until then, this is Brother Ed Steed, your host of Kicking It with Brother Ed, signing off right now. God bless you all.